Tonight, I'm going to give you a little history lesson about back in the day. How many people remember Blockbuster Video? Oh yeah. You guys are the original gangsters. Blockbuster Video. Well, the last Blockbuster in existence, called the last Blockbuster, ironically, is in Bend, Oregon. In 2019, it became the world's last remaining retail store using the Blockbuster brand, and is still open to this day. Apparently, it's a huge tourist thing. You can buy shirts and all sorts of stuff for Blockbuster. They actually have a membership of about 4,000 people that still come in and rent videos. I don't know why, but they do. How many people remember going to Blockbuster to rent a video? Yep. Even better, how many remember going to rent a video game? Because that was awesome. All right, well, this may be a little age divide, so let's do something else. How many people have ever rented a car? Yes, okay. All right, we still need to go. How many people have ever borrowed a pencil at school? There we go. Now we've got, everybody has borrowed something at some point. My next one was going to be, has anyone ever borrowed money? Which, if you're lending money, let me know. Speaking of money, side note, do you know what the best law of finance is? Which finance law is the best law? A wealthy in-law. I got more jokes. I told Stacy I'm going to tell that joke and no one's going to laugh. But this means it's a bad joke. But the question of asking you about if you've borrowed something points out a truth. When we're in need of something, we borrow something. If you go to a different city and you need a car, you rent a car, you borrow a car. If you're in school and you're about to take a test and you don't have a pencil, you borrow a pencil. Number 2 pencil. I don't know if they still use number 2 pencils, but you borrow a pencil. And it's common practice. What I'd like to point out is we can do that same thing when we look at our lives. Because there are times, we talked about this in the teen class tonight. One of my favorite parts of Psalms chapter 23 says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." And for a long time when I read that, I thought, yes, fear no evil. That's important. That's God being there. You're not afraid. As I've gotten older and I've gone through life a little more, the part of that verse that stands out to me is the valley of the shadow of death. David didn't say, if you happen to walk across the valley of the shadow of death. He says, when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, it's coming. There's going to be a valley you're going to walk through. That's a surety. God says that. We are all going to have low moments in our lives. We are all going to have weak times in our lives. When we get to those low moments, when we get to those times, we need to go to the spiritual Blockbuster. And thankfully for us, there's a lot of those in existence. And we need to borrow that strength from someone else. Just like a videotape from Blockbuster, a car, money, a pencil, whatever, you can borrow strength from someone else when you just don't have it. The Christian life is not always easy. It tells us, bear you one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. Part of the law of Christ, to bear one another's burdens, to borrow that strength from someone else when I'm not feeling strong enough. You know, Howard was baptized last Sunday. And I remember when I was baptized and I came out of that water, man, I was on fire. It was fantastic. I was motivated. I'm going to be the best Christian in the history of Christians. And then life happened. And motivation starts to wane. Discipline is what keeps us going. And discipline takes strength. Borrowing strength is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's quite the opposite. 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9 says, "And he said unto me, My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in my weakness. Most gladly, therefore, I would rather glorify in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me." You see that spiritual blockbuster we have, that we can rent strength. We can rent it from each other, but we can also borrow it from God. Because he says, I don't expect you to be perfect. I don't expect you to always be strong. I know you're going to be in the valley of the shadow of death, but guess what? I have enough strength to get you through. So in order to keep our discipline, we're at Wednesday, we got half the week down, we got a little more, and we know Satan's going to come after us. He's going to throw things in our way. In order to keep the discipline on the days when we feel low, on the days that the devil's working overtime, the days that you just feel plain weak, borrow that strength from someone in this congregation. Borrow that strength from the God Almighty. Let their strength lift you up. And as they used to say in Blockbuster all the time, be kind and rewind. It was on every VCR tape. You had to rewind that thing, or they might charge you $1 or whatever it was the next time. On the days you feel strong, rewind back to when you were weak and remember who helped you. And the days you feel strong, preemptively reach out to them. Give them a little strength. Let them borrow from you. So this week, there's only, if you look on the internet, it says there's only one Blockbuster, but there's a whole congregation of spiritual Blockbusters here. And we can lend and we can borrow strength from each other to get through. If we can help you, come forward as we stand and sing.